Chapter 152, Evil Encroaching. After leaving Clara's room, as I was randomly strolling the halls, I sensed people approaching. Expecting a story event happen, I stayed in place. "Great work getting in that woman's good graces," said one of them with a toothy grin while grabbing my shoulder. These men, no names from the Doem camp, had surrounded me. 5, number 6 of them. I spotted Zach standing at the back with an awkward face. "Listen kid, we need you to do us this favor," said the man after drawing close to my ear. His breath reeked. What favor? Not only was my voice the definition of wimpy, I was already bodily shaking as if I was a lowly slime being stared down by a dragon. "No need to be scared now. You do us this favor, and we'll be best buds. Here's the deal. We want to talk to the princess is all, but the B.A.S.T.A.R.ds around her keep getting in the way." "Way? That's where you come it? You're someone she trusts, so we need you to get her to meet us." "Why you need me?" "Yeah, you're the best man for the job." "Job? Do whatever you want, but get it done. You know what, here's a little something that might help." He then took out a powder. "This here's a little drug that helps you get a good night's sleep. Mix it in they drinks and bam, they're sleeping like babes." "Babes? Wait, no, I can't. Listen you little s.h.i.stain. I'm tryna be your friend and ya won't even listen to one favor? Got af.u.c.kin death wish do ya? Hype. I curl in on myself looking terrified. Let's not get too violent, ya guys." Zach spoke up from the back in a stiff expression. The f.u.c.k, Zach. You finally going soft on us? No, anyway, I don't think it's a good idea to, do something rash. f.u.c.kin p.u.s.s.y, we ain't gonna get nothing done like that. We are gon' take the b.i.t.c.h hostage and that dam.nrl's gonna show up right where we want him. After that outburst, the guy slugged me in the face. The moment the punch connected, I loosened my neck, and let my body flow with the impact. Impact. It's called slipping. A good punch to the head can cause a concussion, but knowing how to get hit can prevent that with surprising success. There's two ways to get hit. One is stiffening up and absorbing the strike, and the other is what I did just now, flowing with the impact. And since it looked as if my whole head was flung away by that punch, it also doesn't detract from my mob role. "You off?" I pretended to get knocked off my feet and fell on the floor. I told them to stop. I did, all right. Zach was already backing away, as if to say he wasn't involved. "You know your job. Now do it. We'll wait 3 days. You get us the girl, and I'll get you good food. Don't do it." The man put his foot on my chest and pressed. "You're dead, kiddo," said finally, and they all left. I see, that's how it is. Take Clara hostage so Owl comes out to play. How smart of them. Stood up and brushed off the dirt on my clothes. While I was doing that, Zach came back. I know you're unhurt, but we still cool yet? I was just there, I didn't do nothing. Mr. Zach looked awfully frightened. It's fine. This is all within predictions. What, f.u.c.king h.e.l.l, you knew this'd happen. I mean, I was surprised how you got yourself bonked to get along with the princess, but you even predicted that we. The gears of destiny are finally in motion, all according to plan, of course. I cast a sidelong glance towards Mr. Zach, and grinned cryptically. Why you, who are you? Why you're on the royalist side, right? You don't look like you're on our side. I'm neither really. Nei, there. I support neither the royalists not Doem. My true enemy. And right there, I speedily got out of sight, only leaving echoes. Is the evil that lurks in the shadow of the divide? Disappeared. But I can still hear him. How? Zach started looking around every which way in shock. Now, whatever shall I do? Chapter 153, looks like we're done. 5 men were gathered around the low light of a lamp in the underground cellar. You think he'll pull through? Kid didn't look too bright to me. Whatever, he fails, we kill him. The end. At any rate, tonight's the big night. It's almost time. Where'd Zach go? In his room. Stomach pains, he says. The H.E.L.L? B.A.S.T.A.R.D's been acting strange lately. Don't think he's leaking intel to those royalists. Oi, it's time. Signaled one of them as the door to the cellar opened. In the dark, decrepit room, a single figure approached the 5. The figure's ident.I.tie was slowly revealed as he approached the light. You're alone. Where's the girl? Tisk. Didn't pull through after all. The men were badly disappointed. The black-haired boy standing before these intimidating prisoners looked the definition of ordinary. His dark eyes were looking down, staring at the shadows extending across the floor. Hey, you better not say you got cold feet. One of the men pulled out a knife. Hey. Talk. Where's the princess? He threatened, holding the knife at the boy's throat. The boy began trembling like the weakling he was, or so the men had imagined. Boy didn't do that. He didn't shake, he didn't even move. He simply kept staring at the shadows below. Princess, Clara. He muttered softly, his voice wasn't loud but everyone could hear it clearly. Isn't coming. His eyes were yet glued to the floor. However, his lips held a tiny grin now. The F.U.C.K are you talking about, huh? Yeah, got cold feet and came here alone, that it? The boy was silent. Silent. What now? We kill him. Gotta at least show him not to mess with us. Yeah. We beat him up and try again. Men all stood up and surrounded the boy. Messin' with us, adips.h.i.t. The man who had the knife at the boy's neck grabbed a fistful of his hair with his other hand and pulled his face up. What the man saw there was the boy's eyes, pitch dark eyes lacking in emotion. I don't like that look. Looking annoyed, the man grazed his knife along the boy's neck. A line of blood escaped the shallow cut. I said, I don't like that look. But the boy didn't comply. Comply. He just kept staring blankly. No, not quite. The small smile on the boy's lips had grown into a visible grin. Grin. What are you looking at? The man smacked the boy's face with the B.U.T.T of his knife. But the boy's smile didn't falter, not in the least. You don't seem to realize you're in deep S.H.I.T, brat. Another smack. Stronger this time. Enough to break the cheekbone, maybe even knock loose a tooth. Still no reaction from the boy. Boy simply kept on looking at the man with a grin across his face. Oi, you goin' easy on him or what? From the side, one of the man's comrades came up and punched the boy in the face. Face. That's how ya punch a face. Leave 'em half dead and they'll never Punch was meant to knock the boy out cold. But the boy just stood there as if he felt nothing. The spot where he'd been battered had remained spotless. Spotless. Those emotionless eyes still peered at the five men. It was freaking them out. Is that it? Finally said the boy. You'll regret that. Furious, the man began pummeling the boy with ferocious fists. He punched like no tomorrow, until his breathing became rough. See, this is what happens when you Are you done? You done? Said the boy, ever smiling. His face revealed not one bruise. This kid's F.U.C. King strange. Tisk. Gimme the knife. The man from the side took the knife and stabbed the boy in the ribs. But. What, how? The knife, penetrating only the boy's clothes, stopped there. Even putting more strength into his arm, the man couldn't cut the boy's skin. Oi, what are ya playin' around for? Stab him, do it. Shut up. Knife ain't going in. The man tried stabbing again and again. The knife never penetrated even skin deep. His breathing had gone arid as the man stepped away. His eyes couldn't believe what he'd just witnessed. What? The H.E.L.L.R.Y. So you're done. That's when the boy swung his fist. Yet, no one saw it move. Such was its speed. What they saw was the result only. Boy's fist had punched through the man's chest and come out the other side. Ah, ahiau. The man dropped to the ground, creating a large pool of blood. Wah. And no, f.u.c. Kin. D. Did this guy just punch a hole through? Hiya. Splitch, splitch. The boy walked on the b.l.o.o.d.y floor. Done. He taunted the man, still grinning. The remaining men's faces stiffened. O.ddA.m.n, WELL take I'm down with all of us. D. Don't mess with me. D. Die, F.U.C. Cur, D. H. Hi. 4 shadows converged on the boy. The flame in the lamp flickered. Dancing shadows. Once the flame regained its calm, on the floor of the cellar lay 5 corpses with holes for a chest. Looks like we're done. No one answered now. Splitch, splitch. The boy stepped over the blood as he walked away. Chapter 154, Soul Searching. I had left the kingdom of Midgar where I was born and raised, and now, have ended up in a concentration camp in Oriana. Oriana. In this unknown land where not a soul knew me, I sought to find myself. That's what this was after all. A journey of soul searching. All the actions I've taken in my life has been for one purpose, to be a power in the shadows. Shadows. But am I truly on the correct path to reach my ultimate goal? Is there not something more I can do? I've had various thoughts on the matter, and I've narrowed it down to one thing that I believe I currently lack. That is overwhelming might. A power in the shadows must be strong. That is a given fact. The issue is how to display that strength to the fullest. Insta-kill my foes, the simplest idea. But it's dull and boring. Show them power beyond imagination, of course I will. But that's still not enough. Be unharmed no matter what the enemy dishes at me, yes. This. As a power in the shadows, I will let them know despair by showing that their attacks mean nothing to me, then use power beyond imagination to insta-kill my foes. The point is to make sure the enemy has exhausted all their trump cards, and being fine regardless. That is the moment when they will drown in despair and truly lose to me, and any witness to such a feat would surely gain an instinctive sense of overwhelming might that is a power in the shadows. So the question is, have I done that for my enemies so far? Have I sent them to the pits of despair? I have not. This was what I was lacking all this time. Overwhelming might? That reasoning in mind, I tested it out with those 5 hoodlums, taunting them to give me everything they had. It wasn't enough. It was not enough. What am I doing trying to get some level 1 convict to throw out trump cards? I should just insta-kill low-level plebs like that. Here I was expecting those last four could launch a special combo suicide move or something. Something. Imagine my disappointment. Insta-kill any mobs, that's how a power in the shadow rolls. And for boss characters, I make sure they exhaust everything they have, that's also how it padong dongs. Though I'd need to kill some of them faster too. Depends on how much I can handle really. Gotta always adapt to the situation and get the best out of it. That's how a power in the shadows should be. And doing that, I'll be one step closer to my supreme goal. Happy with the knowledge that I'd learned and grown, I was on a stroll in the camp courtyard. The icicles glistened under the morning sun. My breath was white in the cold air. Oops. Stepped on a body. Dead from frostbite. Ah, what a refreshing morning. As such, I was blending in with all my other mob campmates when I noticed a familiar presence. Perhaps noticing me turning around, the other party did the same. For a few moments, we stared at each other. No, she looked like a man at a glance. Her prison clothes were dirty and her head was wrapped up in a cloth, revealing only her ember eyes. She was disguising herself to hide any feminine curves. Epsilon uses her slime bodysuit to do something similar. Well, the opposite actually. Yes, I know her. Miss Rose. See Sid. Both of us were surprised. After the thing at the G.O.D of Warfest, she was working part-time for Mitsugoshiko as I recall. Then how come she's here? Oh. I see. So she's been thinking too. You can't be working part-time forever. She's clearly thinking constructively about her future. And so, she's also on a journey of soul-searching. She quit her job and is here to take back her country. In the first place, her killing the king was the start of all this. So her being here is not surprise at all. Miss Rose. So, you're... I was so amazed by her resolve that I was at a loss for words. Incidentally, the mana-sealing collar on her neck was a fake. Which means that she too infiltrated this camp. And gathering all these clues, there is only one conclusion to arrive at. She, Rose Oriana, is Owl. Chapter 155, Sorry, ya lost me. Sid. Why are you here, of all places? Said Miss Rose, eyes wide in surprise. I was worried for a friend and traveled here. Then they said I was suspicious and said in mob-like stutters, trying to get across the feeling that I got mistakenly involved. So, you were that worried for me? Huh? I mean. I just said a friend, not her in particular, but, actually, isn't her misunderstanding sort of convenient for now? Yes, that's right. I was so worried after what happened. Sid. She looked at me earnestly. I'm so sorry, because of me you ended up in this sort of place. Still, to think you could tell it was me right away. Finished with a slight smile. Never mind me. I did this on my own accord, so. No, this is wrong. I can't return anymore. She shook her head furiously, amber eyes stained in tears. Can't return? Please, just forget about me. I'm sorry, I can't say why. If I do, even you'd become involved. Involved? I don't understand. Sorry, yeah, totally lost me there. My feelings are still the same. On the last day we spoke, I said I wanted you to believe in me. Me. And you did. You even came all the way here. Here. And that's enough for me. I won't ask for anything more. So, please. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. Miss Rose tightly held my hands. Sid, you don't need to worry about me anymore. I'll make sure you escape from this camp. So please. Just forget about me. I nodded seriously. Yeah, she's technically a criminal after all. A mob isn't someone involved with criminals. Still, it's surprising how far she'd go to take the throne. Very well. I should help out in a way that she succeeds. Thank you for understanding. You and I don't know each other. We're complete strangers and our paths would never cross again. Of course. Farewell. She said, still smiling. The tears in her amber eyes rolled down her cheeks. Farewell. I was about to also bid farewell when. Oi, you the one called Sid. Someone roughly grabbed my shoulder and turned me around. Yes, that is me. All of a sudden, people from the Doem camp were surrounding me. You're the brat Marco hired, right? Marco? Do I know a Marco? Don't play dumb. You're the one those guys called out. The man grabbed me by the collar and looked mad. Please, I don't. I really don't know a Marco. People are misunderstanding things a lot today. I made a stealthy glance at Mr. Zack, and he just gave me a nod. What's that supposed to mean? Why did you nod, man? Quiet down. Someone put a hand on the angry man's shoulder. It was the gray-haired handsome man I saw in the cellar. Their leader. I am Maximilian. I run things around here. 5 men have recently approached you for a task, no? Oh. The drug and kidnap the princess mission. Yeah, they all suddenly got holes in their chests, so mission failed, I guess. Those 5 were mysteriously killed last night. Wait, am I a suspect? You will tell us everything, said Maximilian in a tone that won't take no for an answer. And so I nodded in a.s.scent. And with my shoulder still held, I was about to be taken away. Which is when? Move it. One of the Maximilian's men shoved Miss Rose aside as she was standing blankly in the way. I voiced worriedly. Do you know him? No. I shook my head as she hid away her face. I don't know him. Move along. I was then pushed to go wherever they would take me. Behind me, I could feel her gaze on me the whole way. Chapter 156, Action Spy. Like that, I was brought into the cellar. I was seated down on a chair with the underling's iron grip still on my shoulder. Around me were faces of the Doem camp. In front of me stood Maximilian. Now. The bossman looked down at me with cold eyes. Those 5 I mentioned. Mentioned. We found them this morning with their chests pierced through. You don't happen to know anything about that, do you? I could see traces of the blood from yesterday on the floor. I don't know anything, sir, please believe me. Then tell me, what were you doing last night? Were you not supposed to drug the princess and bring her here? Ah, looks like he knows about that. Yes, I was indeed told to do just that. But I just couldn't. So the nerves got you. Maximilian said, his gaze turning sharper. And then, a coward like you had the audacity to carefreely stroll around in the camp. One would imagine you would go into hiding, no. He's right. Me acting like I had this morning isn't something a mob like me should have been doing. You're brilliant, Maximilian. And no, that wasn't. I really was scared and you certainly looked fine to me. Until my men and I arrived, you looked not the least bit scared. Now, you will speak what you know. Maximilian drew his knife. The sharp blade glinted in the flame of the soul lamp. Lamp. Right. So I failed. Too bad. Let's kill them now. I was about to go shadow mode and unleash slime H.E.L.L on them when I sensed her coming. Not a moment later, the lamp went dark. Someone's there. She had arrived. Wearing a pitch-black slime bodysuit, with her slime sword, she launched a fierce attack towards Maximilian. Dam.nu. Maximilian also reacted fast to the sudden A.S. Salt. He quickly turned and avoided the blade coming for his neck, then jumped back to take distance. Distance. It wasn't a perfect dodge, however, as blood gushed from his shoulder. B.A.S.T.A.R.D. You must be. Ow. And you're a woman. She didn't answer. Some of the other men were already down on the floor near her. She's gotten more skilled. Humph, seems you've made it easier for me. Maximilian took out a sword from a crate. He fell into a loose stance and observed his opponent. Yup, he's somewhat skilled too. Surround her. The remaining men also found swords and did as their boss had commanded. If they'd been holding guns instead of blades, it would have been like some spy movie action scene. So exciting. I gulped in antic.I.P.ation. And Maximilian made the first move. He quickly closed the distance hashtag and thrust his sword. The point didn't reach her, as she had swiftly evaded with a half step and cut down a man who came from behind her. As she did, Maximilian made his next move. The man's swordplay was sharp and precise. No risky, flamboyant movements. A logical sword. I didn't think I'd see this sort of sword in Oriana of all places. The kingdom of Oriana had a culture of looking down on magi swordsmanship. The magi swordsmen of this country were either people of the lowest caste, or foreign mercenaries. So what martial art does the high CLA.S.S practice, you ask? It's called blade dancing. Yes, that's right, I said dancing. They take a sword, and they dance with it. Imagine figure skating while holding a sword, that's basically what it amounts to. Being the country of art, in Oriana, they hold blade dancing duels and victory goes to the most beautiful dance. It goes without saying that blade dancing is total weak sauce in a real fight. But for the people here, it seems that beauty is strength. I mean, I can see how it could make sense, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as they say. Whatever. Basically, this is why I was surprised with Maximilian's swordplay. Swordplay. It made sense. At the very least, it made sense not in the Oriana kingdom way. One could claim it's the start of a new era for the nation. He was using such a sword to sail owl. Sword sparks lit up moments of the dark cellar, and he was landing glancing strikes on the girl's bodysuit. Maximilian was using numbers to his advantage to give her no S.P.A.C.E to maneuver. Give up while you can. You will not win. Things aren't looking too good for her. He's a handsome guy after all. As I was thinking that, she made her attack. Maximilian easily dodged, as he had much more S.P.A.C.E to work with. He was taking full advantage of the stage. Was far enough that the slash wouldn't reach. Yet, suddenly her sword extended. If Maximilian hadn't craned his neck to dodge, his face would have had a hole in it. The slime sword only grazed him, and blood flowed from his cheek. Maximilian had barely dodged, but that position broke his balance and he had to step further back. Taking advantage of the inattention, the girl swept away the men around her, cut down the cellar door and ran out. After her. Now. Maximilian roared, and his remaining man chased after her. "Boss, what do we do with the kid?" one of them said, noticing me. "Owl takes priority. We won't need him anymore if we can capture her. Do not let her get away." Saying that, Maximilian also ran out. Suddenly, I was the only person in the whole cellar. What to do? Things were getting rather busy upstairs. Chapter 157, Cut Down Anything. Been much too soon to make her move. Rose ran across the camp hallways, still sensing pursuers behind her. Her mission was to take Clara, the flag of the Royalists, and deliver her to her faction's army waiting outside of the city. Originally, that role had belonged to Rose herself. However, currently, Rose couldn't be considered an ally of Oriana under any pretense. She was, after all, the traitor who murdered their king. The public already knew Rose as such. She held no ability to lead her people anymore. She could only remain in the shadows, never to return. But she still wished to devote herself to her country. For that reason, she had volunteered to take part on this mission. To use her life for her people. But then, he had appeared suddenly. Sid Kajano. The boy she had once wished to spend her life with. That boy had worried for her, going so far as to travel to Oriana. Oriana. When she learned of that fact, the emotions hidden in her heart became turbulent. The happiness that he had sought her out. The regret that she had caused him harm. And mostly grief towards his feelings that she could no longer answer. No matter how deeply she loved him, she could no longer be with him. She was a criminal. Getting involved with her would surely lead him to misfortune. So, she had resolved herself to give up, and yet. They met. They met. And Rose's feelings were raging to point of pain. She wanted to dive into his chest without a care. But she couldn't. For after the momentary bliss, only cruel, merciless reality. Thus, no matter how it tore apart her here, Rose told him clear words of parting. And it was supposed to be over with that, it was. Until Maximilian took him. The inside of Rose's head had went blank. Maximilian was a dangerous man. He was one of the named children of the Order of Diabolos and held the T.I.Tle cold blood. He was also allied to Doem, who held the reins of the anti-royalist faction. On the face of it, he was one of Doem's underlings, but within the order, their positions were that of equals. Equals. As such, they were fellow compet.I.Tours. Tours. Word was that, based on the results of their occupation of Oriana, one of them may get promoted to a seat of the rounds. In other words, even they were underlings to a degree. Knight of the Rounds apparently also has a hand in Oriana's current turmoil. One Sir Mordred. Shadow Garden has been scouring everywhere for this Sir Mordred, without any results. But this man held a very prominent position within the order, that is known for certain. The aim of Shadow Garden is to find and eliminate him. To do that, Shadow Garden has been aiding the royalists take back Oriana so as to drive the Doem faction to a corner. Which evidently leads Rose's own goal of protecting her country. Rose was well aware of her duty. But before she had realized, she had already drawn her sword at Maximilian. Can't. I should still bide my time. I need to find Clara and take her out of here. No matter how much she tried to reason with herself, her feelings had won out overwhelmingly. I've got to save him. Which leads us to the present. Surely, soon enough, the whole camp would know that Owl had infiltrated the premises. Rose was still worried whether her sister Clara would believe in her. Plus, the matter of the traitor among those around the princess. Rose had wanted to eliminate that danger before contacting Clara, that wouldn't be happening now. There she is. Over here. Behind her were Maximilian's men, and in front of her stood armed guards. Never stopping, Rose readied her black blade. Ha ha ha. Cutting down any obstacle. Chapter 158, Beacon of Revolt. Revolt. The camp was in a frenzy. Guards were running every which way, and sounds of destruction could be heard from the courtyard and hall. Clara, who was in her private quarters, spoke. Is it true that the owl has appeared? The princess's pink blonde hair shook in the cold wind. Appears so, milady. For some time now, the guards have been shouting that they'd found this owl, said Gin, standing at her side. Right. Meaning that owl was in a bad situation. While they usually opted on the side of caution, it might also be prudent to see this as an opportunity. Clara had to make a decision now. For Oriana, and for the loyal retainers who had followed her all this time. What do you all think we should do? She queried the people of the royalist faction surrounding her. We must save the owl and escape together. We will surely be able to join back with the army. We don't yet know whether this owl is enemy or ally. We should wait and see. The guards are all busy outside. We have to make our move now or never. Mustn't make rash decisions. Think of the greater cause. Her retainers staunchly voiced their respective stances. Stances. Gin said calmly, we must have caution. We do not know if Owl is an ally. And even if we do save him, there is no guarantee we can escape the camp with his aid. Then, they all turned to Clara. Your Highness, what do you wish to do? And demanded her decision. Clara felt her chest tighten as if her heart was being squeezed. She glanced around the room, looking at each of her people's faces. More of them favored the wait-and-see approach. It was a matter of course. They wouldn't have a second chance. Failure most assuredly meant death. And Clara understood that the chance of success was not favorable. Still, if they don't act now, would they even get another chance so opportune? As things stood, they were on the palm of Doem's hand. Who knew if they'd all be sent for the guillotine tomorrow? Was it really fine to let go of this chance in uncertain hopes for the next? Had those who wanted to wait not realized that the chances of a similar event happening were exceedingly low? Clara closed her eyes and contemplated. Her hands felt awful with sweat. Perhaps it was that these people had gotten too accustomed to the camp. She was sure they had a stronger sense of danger during the time when they were first put here. They no longer had the leisure of choosing their opportunity, was what Clara believed. Then again, Clara once again looked at the faces of her people. Yes, most did want to wait. They were older and better experienced. They were the majority. Clara was but a LAS.S of 15. Weren't their opinions more learned and wiser than her own? Furthermore, were she to ignore the majority outright, wouldn't they doubt her judgment as a leech? and if that happened, the royalist faction would fracture. Yes, Clara should just listen. Yes, if she listens, then they won't. I believe we should. Your Highness. A man had spoken up, interrupting her. He was a man in his middle years, a man with skin bronzed by years of work under the sun. Listening to everyone's opinion is good. But you shouldn't stare at their faces so much. His speech was hoa.r.s.e and unrefined, yet had a certain nostalgic feeling for her. Bat. Clara spoke his name. Was the gardener that Clara had known since childhood. Childhood. He knew neither politics, not war. What he could do, and do well, was make the royal gardens a stunning sight to see. It was his words that rang most true for her. Recently, she'd developed a habit of checking everyone's faces and expressions. She wasn't confident in herself. She was scared. She wanted to rely on something outside herself. Gardener. Milady didn't ask your words. Ging glared at Bat. Stop that. He too is one of us. How so? How so? He's a mere gardener. What can he do? He is because he's here. A mere gardener had no reason to follow me here. And yet Bat did. Because he too believed in me. So what if he did? It would be foolish to glean a gardener's wisdom. I said stop, Gin. Not another word about that. Clara and Gin locked eyes. Gin looked away first. My apologies, milady. It's fine. I know you always mean the best for us. Saying that, Clara once again gathered her thoughts. She went to the root of it. What was her goal? What did she want to accomplish? For a single instant, she remembered her childhood, where she, Bat and her sister played together in the beautiful royal gardens. If it was her, she would. We'll help Owl, and escape. This is our chance, we must give it everything. Glancing at Bat, she saw him smile. Very well. Men, you followed Princess Clara until now, what say you? Are you ready? Ready as can be. We've been waiting patiently for this very day. Let us show those usurpers they can't hold us down. The men all stood. From a secret compartment in the wall, they picked up hidden weapons. Even Clara received a sword of her own. She couldn't use it, of course. But just the act of her holding a blade had meaning in itself. Let us raise the beacon of revolt. The daily life in the camp ended at this moment.